Welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. The engineer, as we all know, has created that button and everybody loves it, so we're using the and button every time we say 1220 and 98.1 FM. Now, anyone who has ever listened to the Ask Brien Radio Show, you know what we're all about. But quite honestly, I want to say that we've been away for the last 3 months. Although we've been on the radio every week, we have not actually been in the studio. So this is an experiment that we shall see how it happens. Now we have our co-host, Mrs. Lindsay Mann.
Hey there, Brian. It's so great to be back here in the studio finally after 3 months. Oh my!
I didn't even know what you looked like.
I know, and we've been just like missing out on the quality of this studio here, the sound and everything. So loving it.
Absolutely, and as you say that, all I hear is distortion. But you know,
Pat, how do these mics sound, huh?
They sound pretty good.
Okay, but I do hear a little distortion. That may be my ear of what I'm hearing on the radio.
Oh, it should be the telephone on our that's the phone.
All right, so now everybody always asks, and we always use our engineer because he knows about the Ask Brien Radio Show. First of all, one thing about Ask Brien. Brien is spelled with an E. AskBrien.com. It's part of the Ask Brien Network. Ask Brien Network, we're going to go over a little bit. But the engineer, he's very intelligent once in a while.
Hey, come on.
Is this his day? But now I think I've trained him well. He's like a seal. I give him fish, and he gives the answer. So what does E stand for in Brien?
Stands for empathy, stands for effort, excellence. My personal favorite's engineer. Okay, all right.
I put that one on the bottom of the list, but go ahead.
What is... Throw me a vowel on this one.
How about an expert?
I thought I did say expert, but you know what? That's fine. Expert too.
All right, so we've got the Ask Brien Network, and again, we're on every week, and every week we try to help people solve a business problem, and we're gradually getting into not only solving business problems, but trying to teach people business lessons so they can create their own business and eventually their own side hustle potentially, and eventually their own business. So basically, that's what the Ask Brien Network is all about. And Ask Brien website basically allows two different concepts. We have a business community, which is how we started out, which is whereby a radio engineer in Santa Clarita, Newhall can ask a radio engineer in Manhattan, hey, I've got a problem. I don't know how to do this. You've got the switchboard. I've got the switchboard. How do you handle it? So we've got issues like that. So peer-to-peer in any industry, and that's the business community side of the Ask Brien Network. We also have the other part of the Ask Brien Network, and the other part of the Ask Brien Network is the experts. Now, experts are basically people that have, typically we vet every expert, and typically the average expert is going to have a minimum of 10,000 hours of expertise in one specific subject. So whereas the business community is peer-to-peer, the expert part of it is basically subject to subject. So you may be an expert in accounting, in sales, in SEO, in engineering, in any subject you can think of. We have experts in many, many different fields. Why do we have this? Well, sometimes peer-to-peer is good, but sometimes you actually need to speak to an expert. Now, 10,000 hours is a minimum requirement, but there are experts that are allowed in with maybe as few as 100 hours. Maybe they've created some software. We obviously know that they're an expert in that field, and maybe some of them have 10,000 hours, but they're still not getting it done, so they're not going to qualify. If you are an expert, you are allowed to post your webinars, your ebooks, your blog posts, and you are allowed to post your webinars on our national webinar calendar, and people can calendar their own webinars. So that is what the Ask Brien website is all about. And today we have a very, very interesting guest, and his name is Sam. Hey, I saw you do that. Bogoch.
Hi there.
How you doing, man?
Good, really good. Great to be here, and looking forward to it.
Now, even though Sam says he's good to be here, he really is a couple of states away. How far away are you?
Far, far away. I am in Maine, farthest Maine. Doesn't get much farther.
No, not unless you go to Alaska. Otherwise, you're out of the U.S.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Now, So we have a couple. People don't know who you are. So first of all, the name of your company is what? Is it Axle A.I? Is that the name? Is that
Axle A.I, that's right.
now? Why is it AXEL as opposed to AXLE?
It is AXLE.
Why then? Why is it AXEL?
Because, well, we named it after the axle, like on your car, you know, like that your wheels are attached to, as opposed to like Axle Rose or some other kind of axle. So it's AXLE.ai, and basically what we do is we're like a hub for handling video and other kinds of media information. And so we thought, like, well, a hub is like, you know, kind of like an axle.
So
That was our idea.
Before we get into that and go through those questions, by the way, you know, I didn't know that you were in Beverly Hills Cop, Axel, but from Axel Rhodes, who was the police officer in the movie. But anyway, the questions we have, before we get into anything, what is your background? So, I mean, you woke up, you were sleeping one day, and you woke up, and now you had this company. How did you get here?
Boom, right. So, yeah, here's what happened. It's a pretty roundabout thing. The important thing to know is that before I started this company, I worked for 5 years at a company called Avid. They're up in Massachusetts, also slightly far from where you are, but they have a ton of customers in Hollywood, in New York, and in Europe. And they're like the big dogs for doing movie editing and broadcast editing. And so I was in charge of this product there that would let lots of editors share stuff, search it, and also have things like producers and assistant editors all dive in and help out. And so while I was doing that, which was great, and we had a big success of a business, we actually grew it like, I don't know, we tripled it over 5 years. But we were not picking up the folks that were really just starting with video. So my idea was to do something that would address like corporate video, church videos, things like that. And my background before that is pretty all over the map. I did physics. I got a medical degree, which I have absolutely not taken advantage of. I was actually a nightclub promoter back when I was a kid. So I've done a few things, but I ended up in tech in Silicon Valley for the 1990s and then at Avid after that.
Well, I don't have too many medical doctor software promoters on my show, so you're probably the first. I may have had different groups of that, but not all in one person. So you are definitely a unique person, as I knew.
Thank you.
And by the way, how many years did it take you to get that medical degree? 10 years? 5 years? What?
It was 4 years, basically. And, I mean, the usual.
Well, did you do an internship?
I did not do an internship. So basically, college, then med school.
So did you do, when you got into technology from physics, how did you make that transition?
Well, I'd always been a computer geek. I was very lucky when I went to high school. My high school had a computer. This was before mini computers and certainly before micros. So, like, you would use punched cards, and you would, like, make a stack of punched cards and put them in the hopper, and it would run your program, and you'd watch them go. Like, I mean, talk about old school. And I will tell you, you couldn't even make a typo when you were entering for the punch cards because my school didn't have the fancy punch card machine, which would have a buffer. There was no buffer. So if you typed A and you meant to type S, that was the end of the card. You had to trash the card. Talk about not being green. So that's how crude it was, but that's how I learned computers. And, they had languages like BASIC and Fortran and stuff. So I learned from there, and then all the time that I was in school, I was like doing this as kind of a hobby. And then when I got out of school, my hobby became my actual day job.
Wow, that is so awesome. So basically, were you able to own your own computer at one point, or did you have to go back and forth to school to self-teach your?
Oh, when I was a kid, nobody could afford these. They filled a room. It was scary, and they made noise. They didn't just sit there. They were like loud humming and crunching noises. But at any rate,
I can make noises.
By the time I was in medical school, that was when the Mac came out, and so I got one of the first edition Macs, and so that the rest is history. I actually had an Apple II before that I would open up and do circuit boards in and stuff, but the Mac was like the first usable computer I had.
That is so cool. So you said the first few languages that you learned were what?
Oh my God, don't go there. But it's I learned basic, Fortran, and assembly language. Assembly language is the cool one. That's when you get in. They still have that today. You get into the bits of the actual computer, and you write an instruction to tell it what to do in the exact next step. So you don't write high level programs. You don't do web program. You just tell it take 0 and add it to or add it to 1, and the answer is 1. That's the level that assembly language is at.
Well, my first computer language, I had a 4 next loop, so I don't know if that was basic.
That's it. Well, that 4 next, that's basic or Fortran, that kind of thing.
It was basic. That's what I recall. And when I got to school, they didn't have Excel. We had Lotus 1, 2, 3, and I had to do my accounting work on that. But I want to get a little bit more into our subject matter today.
Sure.
So, you talk about AI, and so I just want everyone to understand what is AI in the simplest terms, so that even our engineer can understand what it means.
It's one of those terms that a lot of people, say and hear, and they don't know exactly what it means. And the reality is today it means a lot of different things. But in general, it means trying to make computers act more like people. Because, you think about me with the punch cards or you with the 4 next loop, you weren't talking to a person. You were just trying to tell a computer to do some piddly thing right after the last piddly thing. And that is really what makes up most computer programming today. It's just gotten fancier and better and easier for users to deal with. But under the hood, it's still a computer. The idea with AI, and the companion is what's called machine learning, or ML, is that now computers are powerful enough. They can do billions of instructions every second, and you can gang them up to do almost unlimited amounts of instructions every second. Thousands of billions of instructions, right? So it should be possible to make a computer act more like a person with all that information. And in particular, if you could train it on images and train it on sounds, maybe it could recognize stuff. Maybe it could tell you who was there or what the person said. So those are not things that traditional computer programs could handle, but AI and machine learning can handle it. And increasingly, they can handle it at 90 to 99% accuracy.
Wow. When do you think that you can start training AI with emotions and feelings? Is that ever going to happen?
Well, not at the moment. The kinds of emotion stuff they have is if they see the person is smiling, they say happy. But that's not the same as a computer being happy. It's just knowing that the word happy goes with the person that smiles. In terms of actually giving computers emotions, we're probably a decade or more away from that. But it could sneak up on us pretty quickly because a lot of things that computers weren't supposed to be able to do are getting done now. So you can imagine that could come along reasonably soon.
Absolutely.
So your product right now, when did you create your product, and what is the name of your product?
It's called Axle A.I. We actually launched the company just as Axle about 8 years ago, and then about 2 years ago, what happened was all these people needed to manage a bunch of video and audio, and images. So you're a marketing team, or you're an election campaign, or you're a church, and you have all this footage. How do you find stuff? So we set up the system. It was pretty easy to use in your browser, so that interns could tag things and find things, and that went reasonably well. We had, about 300-400 customers. But it was the kind of thing you almost had to think like a librarian, who am I going to get to search all this stuff and tag all this stuff? And when AI came along for this field about 2-3 years ago, we're like, okay, this is our big moment because you don't need the interns anymore. The AI can tag the material. And that's when business really started to take off, and when we started to kind of get out there a bit more.
So my engineer's an intern, so eventually we'll be able to figure that out and cap AI and get rid of the intern here, right?
Maybe, but what usually happens is you need the intern to just keep an eye on the AI, not to mention to bring the coffee and all the other good stuff. So
I'm still waiting for my coffee.
There's probably some job security there, with or without AI, I would think.
But when did you actually program the language yourself, or did you hire people, or how did that work?
Oh, no. We're 19 people today, and even at the beginning, I have a partner. His name's Patrice Gudabel. He and I had worked together previously, and when I started the company, he was the obvious person to join. There were a couple of other co-founders. So at this point, I haven't written code myself in many years, but I know enough to be dangerous. Like, I can ask stupid questions, and then the coders kind of roll their eyes at me, and we move on.
I do that too. I can do that too. I'm very good at asking stupid questions.
Exactly.
So Sam, tell us about your amazing software and how people are using this. What kind of people are using your software?
Thanks. It's a really diverse group. It is in fact anybody that needs to search a lot of video. So we work with big Hollywood studios like Paramount and Warner Brothers, like the Ellen DeGeneres Show uses our software. It's used by big broadcasters like NBC and CBS. But then there's the people you wouldn't expect, like some of the mega churches in the South. We have this customer called Elevation Church, and if you go to their website, it looks like a Drake concert or something. I mean, it's like the production values. They have their own streaming app for Android and iOS. You know, so if you're a member of the church, you actually get the streaming app, and it's a whole thing. Elizabeth Warren's election campaign used our software because all the town hall meetings she did and all the press events would generate all these quotes, and then they'd have people coming in on Facebook saying, what does Elizabeth Warren think about, I don't know, Somalia? So then they do a quick search, find all the times she said Somalia, grab the best one, and, you know, cut the video and paste it on Facebook. And that's something like, if you think about elections, it used to be very boring and they put out a platform. This is more like putting out answers every hour or two all the way through. And, you know, we have corporate customers like Patagonia and PricewaterhouseCoopers that use it for their messaging. We have universities, government agencies. It's really very diverse, but it's always about, I got so much video here, like YouTube publishers are another thing, right? People put all this stuff on YouTube, and if they wanted to do a different version later on, they kind of can't because they may have lost track of it. So we help them keep track of it and reuse that material in smart ways.
What are some of the benefits of using your product? How can a company leverage you know, what you guys do?
Well, the biggest one is that if you've been shooting material day after day for a few years, chances are you've got a pile of hard drives somewhere and you have no idea what's what anymore. Maybe you kept some Post-it notes or you have a spreadsheet, but even then it's pretty hairy. So the idea with our stuff is, what if you could actually catalog all that? And ideally, we encourage people to pull it together onto some kind of a network storage device or the cloud, wherever's convenient for them. But if they can get it all in one place, we can catalog it all. And then it's all searchable in your browser, and you don't even have to be where those hard drives are. You can search it from home. So we're seeing, because of COVID, a big surge in people that are accessing their media from wherever they are. Obviously, nobody can come into the office. You guys are at the studio now, but you know, a lot of teams aren't that fortunate. So, you know, you might have 20 people all working from their homes, and yet they have to collaborate and tell each other, hey, use this clip for the promo, or use this clip for the Instagram video that we're cutting, you know, that kind of thing. So the fact that you can do that from your browser instead of having to hand around hard drives is really the biggest win for almost everybody.
That is pretty cool. Now, what if you can take this, like as an example, can you take this information that's transcribed and, you know, have it on your website where, you know, SEO can pick it up and, you know, you can gain better presence online? Is this something that's also that
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, you know, one of the things people have realized is that video, the internet is so chock full of video now. Like 80% of the traffic on the internet is video. So if someone's looking for you, they will not find you unless your material is very precisely tagged, right? It's not good enough to just say, you know, Ask Brien. You have to say who the guest was, what they were talking about, and ideally have a transcript of what they said. Same as Elizabeth Warren's campaign. Somebody's got to search it. Then they want to dig down and find that material. So by giving them that, you're basically opening up your material to the whole internet and to SEO, you know, search engine optimization, so that search engines can find the good stuff, and then people can land there. Otherwise, they just not know it was there.
We have about 10 seconds left before. I want to know what percentage is business and what percentage is personal usage?
Oh, today it's 99% business. It's a pretty much a business thing if you include universities and government and stuff.
And we're going to take a break, but before we do, what about Mac versus PC? Can it be done on both?
Both, absolutely.
We'll be right back.
Comfort Keepers provides your loved one with loving in-home care.
Miles McNamara, certified senior advisor and owner of Comfort Keepers in-home care.
Our caregivers can help you in your own home, enhancing independence, creating safety and comfort. Our Comfort Keepers provide companionship, meal preparation, medication reminders, assistance with personal care, and even transportation to doctor's appointments. If someone you love can use a helping hand at home, visit comfortkeepers.com.
Or call 287-4200.
Hi, I'm Steve Cruz, and my wife and I own the local pub and grill. With 19 70-inch TVs, it's the best place in the valley to catch a game. We have a vast selection of beer, wine, and specialty cocktails to choose from, including our charity ale, where 10% of every pint we sell goes to Carousel Ranch. Our menu features classics with a flavorful twist. Come by for Taco Trivia Tuesdays at 7, Wines Day for bingo and karaoke starting at 8 p.m., and karaoke every Saturday at 9. Local Pub and Grill, right next to Bevmo on the Old Road. Support local, support community.
Find the perfect job for you at College of the Canyon's first 2020 job fair. This spring job fair has gone virtual. If you're an employer looking for new recruits, this is your perfect opportunity to find them. And if you're a job seeker looking for employment, COC's virtual job fair will let you connect online in real time with employers seeking to fill their open positions. It's happening Thursday and Friday, June 11th and 12th from 9 a.m. till noon. For more information and to register, go to cocjobfair.com. That's cocjobfair.com.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome. You'll listen to the Ask Brien Radio Show with an E on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM because our engineer forgot to hit the "and" button. I don't know what's going on here. And we're back with my co-host Lindsay Mann and our special co-host Sam Bogoch. Sam, we were right before we took a break, and Lindsay has a whole bunch of questions, but I did want to ask this question. So, on usage, it can be used, it doesn't matter what browser you have, it doesn't matter what computer you have, or those issues that are someone who buys the software is going to have a problem with.
No, actually, that's right. It's pretty much browser independent and works with Mac and PC. Even works with weird stuff like Chromebooks and of course mobile devices. So it does not matter what your computer is. This basically runs like as a cloud type server, and it crunches away on your stuff, and you just access it through the web.
Now the video files are pretty big, so you have to you store it on your own desktop and then you move it over to your files, or how does that work, or does it have to go?
Yeah, no, they are really big, and a lot of times what we do is help our customers just manage the storage itself. Like if you take the pile of hard drives that they usually start with, sometimes it's a room full. I've got some great photos of those rooms. You would be amazed, thousands of terabytes of stuff in these storage rooms. And they're like, help me. So we do. But increasingly you can copy all of that onto a network server that just, looks like any other network server. It just has a lot more storage space. And that's where the material usually finds its way to. They can also put it in the cloud, and our software will catalog it whether they choose a local storage device or a cloud storage device.
How lengthy can that be?
It can be pretty lengthy because copying, just copying this amount of files, if you want to push it into the cloud, in some cases it's not even practical. In fact, Amazon has this thing called the Snowball, which if you want to copy a lot of stuff to their AWS S3 storage, they will ship you this thing via FedEx. And it's basically the size of I don't know, kind of a side table. It's kind of a beast. And you plug it into your network, you just copy all these files into it, and then you ship it back to them, and then they plug it into the cloud. So, because if you had to copy all that stuff, using a typical network connection, it would take months.
Right, and especially if you're dealing with terabytes, that could take years, it seemed like.
Right, and in some cases these are hundreds or thousands of terabytes. It's big.
Wow.
Can you go through how, so if somebody wants to use this software, how they do it, and then also tell us about the quickness. So for instance, if I've got a 1 hour video or a 5 hour video, how long is it going to take to do this, the transcription? What is it?
Yeah, so the transcription piece is actually pretty quick, especially, it depends on where the files come from. If you have them stored in Dropbox, for instance, already, we have a new arrangement with Dropbox, and they're partnering with us. It can take as little as 10 or 15 seconds per minute of footage. So let's say you had an hour's worth of footage. It costs less than $2 to transcribe it, and it could take about 10 minutes to do. And sometimes the results are even faster than that. There are some other processes that are slower, like figuring out all of the objects and faces and numbers that appear on screen. That's the kind of thing that can often take maybe half as long as the footage itself. And the key is that our software can catalog it almost right away, but then it can kind of farm it out to get this other information collected in the background. So you're not sitting there waiting while this is happening. It might be sending thousands of files one after the other and just pulling the information back while you sleep.
What is the accuracy?
For the speech stuff, it's in the 90 to 95% range. It's higher if you've got a studio setup or a really good mic. If you're out on the street and there's background noise, or if you're at a sporting event or something, of course nowadays there's, with distancing, probably the sound quality is going to be better. But if you had 60,000 people at a stadium, your mileage will vary for sure.
How many, what kind of services do you guys offer in your company?
Yeah, it's really all focused around analyzing the media. So in some sense, it's just one service, but if you kind of follow the paths, there's a bunch of different things that we do. For instance, we have a module called Connector that just lets you take different programs and automate them as they relate to our stuff. So let's say you wanted to send something and maybe copy it to another location or transcode it to a different format or send it off for transcription and get all the results back and send you an email when it was done. You can program that in Connector, so it is a little bit like a programming language. That sounds like it's geek stuff, but a lot of people who get our Axle A.I product end up wishing that it did 2 or 3 things that it doesn't do, and that's what Connector is for. And then the other services we provide are usually just helping people out with this, because we've done it at this point for hundreds of customers. We have over 600 customers worldwide, and they're kind of a who's who. I mean, you got Coca-Cola and Patagonia, all these great brand names. We've worked with all these people, and we can bring that expertise to a media team that might not have done all this before. So that's a big part of what we do.
Not only that, but they're working with Ask Brien.
Yeah, exactly.
So another big company.
That's so. When you have somebody come and they want to use their services, how do they get started?
Typically, they go to our website, which is, again, www.axle.ai, and there's forums. You can do a little online chat thing. Our phone number's there. We actually do the old school thing and take phone calls. We just want to make it as easy as possible for people to ask the right questions and get answers are immediately useful to them. So that's really where the conversation starts. Sometimes they may just sign up for our transcription service and not need the whole enchilada. Sometimes they do need the whole enchilada, and it becomes a bigger conversation. But we're pretty flexible about all that, and we just want to help solve this problem kind of one customer at a time.
So this sounds kind of like everyone's a different case-by-case basis. Everyone has their own particular needs. So is there a price range that you start from?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so at the very basic level, we actually have free software you can download that will do the transcription stuff. The first hour of transcription is free. After that, it's between $1.50 and $2 per hour, depending on how many hours you buy. Going fancier than that, we have setups that let people do what I talked about, where we're crunching all their material at their location, and those start in kind of the low thousands of dollars. But for some of our bigger customers, like Madison Square Garden, they can get into the tens of thousands of dollars. They have a big marketing team. They have all these initiatives, and a customer like that is going to need more than just something off the e-commerce site, and off you go.
What other product? Well, first of all, before we get into other products and services that you're anticipating, let's try to go through so that somebody on the show that has never done your software. So first, you have to go to the site AXLE.
Yep.
And then .ai. And then how would somebody decide, like, do they need a Dropbox account, or can they do it without Dropbox? That's one thing.
They can do it without Dropbox, but we have a nice tie-in if they do have Dropbox. And we also work with other vendors, so we work with like Vimeo and Box. We work with Google Cloud. We work with Amazon. One of the things is we kind of have to connect to everything. Today, I would say we don't connect to absolutely everything, but our goal is that, no matter what you bring to the party, we should be able to hook up to it and at least bring the material in and make it searchable. And one of the things we try not to do is make people duplicate all their stuff or change it, right? Because there's nothing worse than somebody that says, well, I'll index all your material, but you have to copy it to my special drive, and you have to format it a certain way. That's the way a lot of software used to work in this area, where it's like it was fine as long as you followed the rules. But in creative industries, nobody has time to follow the rules. There's deadlines that are constant. There's always some new promotion going on. There's always a new event going on. And think of an election campaign. They're probably running around the country just trying to keep up with the events and capture the material and get back to their hotel room and copy it onto a drive. So we respect that, and our software, it tries to just catalog it wherever you've got it right now. And that makes a big difference to people, because it's, otherwise it would just be way too much hassle.
So somebody, do they need software, or they just download the app and that's sufficient?
At the basic level, is just download the app, and that's sufficient. As it gets fancier, they do need this server software. You can run it on a Mac. There's this thing called a Mac Mini, which is a teeny little box. It's smaller than a laptop, really. And so a lot of our customers will run our software on that, or they can run it on a bigger, fancier server, which is, again, where the conversations come in. Like, we're in the middle of configuring servers right now that have, 24 processors and ungodly amounts of memory and stuff, because they need to crunch through huge amounts of material pretty quickly. But that's not going to be a typical experience. Most customers could handle what they do with our software, and then a Mac Mini, which costs about $1,800 configured for it.
And then where is it stored? Is it stored through the company server, or do you have a server that's associated with it? Or
yeah, we don't do the serving part. So it's either on the company server, where they have it already, or it's in a cloud storage platform, something like Amazon or Google or Dropbox. So the customer basically needs to tell us where they're keeping their stuff, and we need to be able to point at it and make sense of it for them.
And then the customer just puts the video into the software or download and pushes a couple buttons, and then from there they get the transcription?
Exactly. Yep. And they need to choose how much transcription they want, because obviously if you had 10,000 hours of stuff, even at $1.50 an hour, that could add up. So we make it, at each, you can say, I want to apply it to everything in this folder, or I want to apply it to this whole bunch of files that you can select. And we have very good searching. It's not just about transcripts. You can search for all the files that are older than a certain date or in a certain format or that were shot at a certain location. You can set up custom fields to tag all this stuff. That sort of goes back to before AI, where we assume that people would be tagging it. And the interesting thing is having tags for people to use is still important because the AI isn't perfect. Like 90, 95% sounds pretty good. That means that 1 out of every 10 or 20 words could be wrong. So we have ways for you to go in and actually edit those transcripts, and we have ways for you to go in and tag the material just based on your judgment, which, as it turns out, is still better than AI for this kind of stuff. Like, it'll be quite a few years before AI does better than an intern. The problem is, of course, how many hours of intern time are you willing to pay for, whereas the AI stuff is just grinding away, 24/7.
So I have to stick with my intern for a while. I get it. Okay.
That's what I was saying. There's still some job security there for sure.
By the time it comes around, you won't be an intern anymore.
So let me just see if I can clarify this. So basically, your platform, your software is your customers are charged by the hour of the transcribing, correct?
That's right. And then if they want to buy the team version of the software, there's an upfront cost and an ongoing upgrade and maintenance cost as well. So, but the transcription piece is the same price whether you have just running off your laptop or whether you're running it on like a Mac Mini server that you load up with our software. Same price per minute.
Okay. And so second question is, so the storage is also the huge part.
Right.
I've read a lot about Amazon Web Services, and I am just big time. I love their services. I feel that it's the most secure cloud-based system that you could probably use today. So that can get pretty expensive though. And what I love about Amazon is that you only pay for what you use.
Yes and no. They if it just sits there and you never touch it, you're still paying every month. So you are right. It is pricey. And that's why a lot of media customers still will have a lot of their stuff local to them. Because if let's say you just buy one of these network devices, it's called a NAS, N-A-S, Network Attached Storage, it might cost you a few $1,000s to set up, but then it could last 3 to 5 years, and you don't pay a dime except for the electricity to keep it on. Whereas with Amazon, you're paying month after month for a certain number of terabytes to sit there. In fact, we work very closely with a couple of companies. Backblaze is one of them that has made a huge industry out of just underpricing and being easier to work with than Amazon. Not to say that Amazon's bad. They are everything you said. They're the most secure, they're the biggest, they're the baddest. But if you just want to back up your PC or if you have a lot of video files, Backblaze is actually a pretty awesome choice, and their stuff costs a fraction of what Amazon does.
That's great to know. Thank you.
Yep.
What is your arrangement with Dropbox? You said you have this arrangement with Dropbox. I'm trying to understand how that works.
Yeah, so what happened is we started talking to them late last year. They have an amazing platform for sharing material, obviously. Almost everybody uses it sooner or later, and a lot of people use it in the media industry, a lot. So the thing is, though, that Dropbox doesn't tell you what's in the files. It'll tell you that's, whatever, video.mp4, but you don't know what's in that video. It'll give you a preview if you want to watch it, but it doesn't do transcription. It doesn't do any kind of intelligent searching of what's inside the video. So they came to us and said, wouldn't it be cool if you could automatically make a transcript for everything that's in your Dropbox account? And furthermore, over time, add some of the other features like face recognition and object recognition and tagging so that, if you had a bunch of stuff in Dropbox, it would be searchable in ways that were meaningful for people to be more productive. And so we thought that was a great idea, and we launched it with them about a month ago. It's called Ascribe, A-S-C-R-I-B-E, ascribe.ai. But it's basically a way to, get better searchability for media that's in Dropbox.
And can customers that use Dropbox realize and find out who you are? Or, I mean, how would they even know to use that if you're in?
Well, it's on the Dropbox blog. If you go to the, Dropbox's homepage, talks about us. But basically, if you go to our homepage, Axle A.I, you can find this app, and it actually has its own page as well at Ascribe.ai. So a number of different ways, and of course we're doing, AdWords and SEO and all the usual marketing things. It's still just getting started. This has only been out a month, so compared to our existing business, which we've been doing for 8 years, it's a baby. But what we love about it is that it makes what we do accessible to so many more people that can literally start for free and just put it on their Mac or PC laptop. They don't have to make a big investment. They don't have to be, the election campaign of a national candidate. They could just be doing a little documentary or have their own YouTube channel, or just be doing family videos and still benefit from this technology.
Well, we're going to have to take a break, and when we come back, you're going to tell us the other products and services beyond the film industry that this can be used for.
Thanks.
We'd like to thank our advertisers and readers for their loyal support since 1991.
Linda and Mo Hafizi, owners of our Valley's 2 leading magazines, Elite and the Magazine of Santa Clarita.
The only magazine in our valley mailed to 80,000 homes and businesses every month, with over 250 pages of community news and features.
Discover how the Magazine of Santa Clarita can help your business. Call 294-4444.
Superior quality is second nature to us. Just ask our advertisers.
If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the Law Office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the Law Office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
Facey knows life gets busy. Let us go to work for you in the Santa Clarita Valley. We have 34 primary care physicians and 55 specialty doctors in 4 offices. And Facey has easy 24/7 online appointment scheduling for PCPs and PEDS with some extended hour appointments available. We are Facey Medical Group. Let us go to work for you today. For more information or to make an appointment, visit facey.com. That's FACEY.com.
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited, affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show, ASKBRIEN, part of the Ask Brien Network, and we're part of KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. And we're here with my co-host, Lindsay, Mann, and our guest, Sam Bogoch. I don't know what our engineer is doing. He's making these things with these little, I don't know what he's talking about. Anyway, we're back. So before we left, we had questions from our audience, and the audience questions were, how else can this product be used? I mean, we see it for the videos, and we see it for the YouTube videos and those type of things. And not everybody is a filmmaker. Not everyone has a YouTube video. That's not their business. How can another business person use this?
Yeah, so one example is like concert venues and performing artists. Obviously not a whole lot of concerts going on right now with COVID, but in general, touring has become a bigger and bigger part of that industry. So one of our highest profile customers is Kenny Chesney. He actually captures video of all his performances, and then they go through things and work out what to do at future performances based on that. We have a customer called Valve that does streaming video games, and we're seeing more and more in that space, like video games and esports. Again, nothing but footage there, just tons of it. And then there's brands. You have people like Patagonia, for instance. If you go to their website, there's all these glamorous people, climbing El Capitan and stuff, using their equipment. That's all video, of course. So, especially with COVID, the best way to communicate is video today. And as a result, you don't have to be a video person. You don't have to work for a TV station or a movie studio to understand the value of this. Because, we've had like insurance companies who do a lot of their marketing through video, and it's just a no-brainer for them. What they don't have is any kind of tradition of like how to manage this stuff. They just throw themselves into it. Suddenly they got a bunch of hard drives, and they're like, okay, what next? And oftentimes that's where we get called in.
Who are your competitors?
There are a few. It depends how you slice it. There are some really small companies in Europe that are comparable to what we do, but most people have not heard of them. We compete a little bit if you look at, for instance, what Amazon and Microsoft do in the cloud. But they only do it in the cloud. They don't give you anything to catalog your material where it is, which is often a mix of local and cloud. So I would say at the moment it's not really one competitor, but it's sort of lots of different options for doing similar kinds of things. There are also some storage companies that will sell you fancy storage that includes some of the search capability with the storage. The problem there is you have to buy their fancy storage, and that's not cheap. So in general, we come across as a little more down to earth, and because we can work with any storage, whether it's local or cloud, it's really a more powerful approach, we think.
Now, I asked you this earlier, I think, but I want to make sure it's covered. Besides the browsers, besides that, you can take any type of file, like a WAV file. It doesn't matter what type of video type file it is, correct? You take them all?
Exactly. We handle images. We can even handle PDFs, and we make every file previewable in your browser. The key thing is that, of course, we let you search it, but searching it just sitting there would be one thing. More and more of our business is because we can help people search it from wherever they are, and that ability to just reach out with your browser and say, oh, I want that file, and then you can ask for them to be downloaded to you. If you had to download the whole, repository, you might have, a giant FedEx bill just shipping all these copies of drives, but you can pick and choose what you need out of images, audio files, and video.
Yeah, you mentioned that people that really like this product and really have even an option to still invest in this business, correct? So you have a crowdfund or something?
Yeah. That's right. We're currently on Republic, which is one of the leading equity crowdfunding sites. It's www.republic, REPUBLIC.co, and then /Axle, AXLE-AI. So that's republic.co/Axle-AI. I guess they couldn't do the .ai because it was, in the wrong place in the URL. But anyway, you can go there, and it's a really cool thing. There's several companies doing this. There's one called Seed Invest. There's one called Start Engine. But Republic, as far as we can tell, is really the leader. They've done a great job with us, and it's almost like a mini IPO. Not quite, because it obviously doesn't have all of the legal implications, but they do a lot of research, they do a lot of vetting, and then what goes on the site is all the facts about the business. So there's a lot of detail there if you're interested to learn more about us, and then you can invest as little as $100 or as much as $10,000.
And when is that open through?
It is open for another month, it's been up for a while. We just passed through twice our goal, so we've raised about $50,000 there, and obviously people are entitled to go and see for themselves. But it's fascinating to me that this is the kind of thing that only venture capitalists used to be able to do. We have an investor named Jason Calacanis who's been fabulous, and not everybody gets to have Jason Calacanis as an investor. But he's very specialized, and this is a site that says, hey, you don't have to be Jason Calacanis. You could just be you, and it's an alternative to investing in traditional things like real estate or the stock market.
Well, that's pretty awesome. We have about 20 seconds left. Lindsay had one last question.
Well, no, that's it. Sam Bogoch, thank you so much for joining us today. And for our listeners out there, you can follow Sam at axle.ai.
And try the product out and see how it works for you. It might work for you, it might not. You can even use it for your personal videos.
Thank you very much.